Jessamine County Library Art Sessions. We are on lesson number 2, and today we are actually going to be making rainbow mandalas, and they're going to look like this. Now, everybody's of course is going to be different. This one is very detailed since we're kind of gearing these for middle and high school. However, anybody can do these at any level, and they're a lot of fun. If you've ever done any kind of scratch art or rainbow art before, you'll be familiar with this. If not, it's very magical. I think that you will like it. Most people are amazed by it no matter what age you are. But I want to give you a little bit of background on what a mandala is, because I tell you we're doing rainbow mandalas, but mandalas are these radial circular images that have geometric patterns. And basically, we often see designs that, if it's a pattern, it has repeating colors, shapes, and they radiate from the center. And in lots of cultures, mainly Asian cultures, they are symbolic and used as an instrument of meditation or other spiritual ritual. In other countries, they don't make them necessarily like this. However, they make them sometimes on fabric. They'll paint them on fabric. Sometimes they'll do them directly on the ground, and they'll actually use almost like a colored sand or chalk to create them. So they're made a little bit differently than how we're doing it, but they are using a radial pattern like we are going to do today. And your pattern can be anything. It can be shapes. We're going to definitely have colors because it's rainbow, but it doesn't necessarily have to be basic things like I've done. I've done some, well, let me let you zoom in on this a little bit. There's stars and triangles and just little squiggles. So I've done some geometric shapes, lines, but you can do anything. And this is a good example of, now that we're in the summer, of radial designs that are even more complex. Different things that are found in nature, plants. This one's a pumpkin, little birds. It can be anything that you're interested in, butterflies. Or it can be something, you know, a character that you like, or if you're into gaming, maybe it's a certain shape or control or character. It can be anything. So depending on what you like, you can make yours however you choose. So let's get started on how we're actually going to make these today with our supply list, okay? This supply list is going to ask that you have one of these large disposable dinner plates. And what you'll need for this is you'll need the kind of dinner plate, Chinet. Your parents can help you with this. Chinet is actually a name brand of a dinner plate that doesn't actually have a plastic coating on it. It's more of just kind of like a paper cardboard. You do not have to get a name brand. I know that Dollar General sells them in their own brand, but they don't have a coating. And you want to make sure it's kind that has a big, flat, wide opening, just a basic dinner plate, not anything with dividers. You can use oil pastels. If you're familiar with oil pastels, you've probably seen them in these little containers like this, oil pastels. If you've not used an oil pastel before, basically it is kind of like a crayon, but smoother. It's got an oil base to it, so it's a little bit smoother. You could use those. But today, I'm going to actually use crayons. Now, I've got this big class pack of crayons. You don't need anything this fancy. When I actually made my example, I made it with just basic crayons at home. You just want to make sure that your crayons have a really good pigment, a really good color. We've all used those crayons that are kind of waxy and they don't show up very well. You probably don't want to use those. You want to use a crayon that has a really good color when you color down on it. So Crayola crayons, or if you've got something like that at home that you've had from school, that'll be just fine. Okay, the next thing that you'll need is you'll need some black craft paint. So if you went to Walmart or the Dollar General or something like that, just a basic black craft paint. You will need some sort of pick at the end to scratch away. Now, I've shown different options here because I know that we're all healthy at home right now. So I tried to think of things that you might have. These are the actual scratchers that if you do scratch art, you can buy, these little wooden scratchers. I happen to have some of those, but we probably have some of these at home right now, these little bamboo skewers. They are a little bit long, but they'll work just fine. They have a point to them, so you can use those. People use those for grilling, or a toothpick. You could even use a popsicle stick. If you've got popsicles at home, when you finish your popsicle stick, dry that off. Mom might have a little cuticle nail stick That could work. Or even if you don't have any of that, I just unraveled a paper clip. Anything really that has a point to it that could be scratched away. So I tried to give you some options there, but anything like that. Worst case scenario, you could even use a ballpoint pen. If you didn't press out the tip of it, you could even use the tip to scratch, as long as the ink wasn't coming out, okay? An optional item would be something that you could use to trace. So I use these in my last option, something round to trace, lids. In this case, we'll probably be using some smaller ones, or a compass if you have one of those at home. Again, that's optional, and that's only if you want to do a round colored design inside. And lastly, the option for if you want to kind of push the lesson along because of drying time, you can actually use a hair dryer. So that's our supply list for today. So let's get started. I think you're really going to enjoy this one. So we're going to start with our actual plate. And for our plate, what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a design. This can be any kind of design. You can do a round design, you can do just a random design, but you're going to create a design inside of the plate, up here into the rim, and even on the rim if you choose to, with your crayons. So now, the reason I have this is if you choose to do a round design so that when you scratch away, it actually gives you something like this. If you want an exact, you can do something like that and actually trace the lines or create small lines up to large lines as you go through here. I'm not going to do that today, but you're more than welcome to do that. And I'm going to kind of get you started. I'm not going to color this whole thing, but I'm going to kind of show you how I created my first design. Now you can do something as simple as, I'm trying to kind of find my middle point here. Nothing has to be exact. But if I take some colors and I start to kind of create a colored design here, you can do something really simple, almost like tie-dye, and work your way out. On this one in here, this is step 2. I'm going to show you here in a second, but on this one right here, you're just seeing a black plate, but underneath it, I have actually already colored all the way underneath. On that one, I did something kind of like this, where I had worked different circles off of each other instead of going from inside all the way out. This one went from inside all the way out, but I did different colors around the rim. There's no rules, so however you choose to do it. I've also done them before where I've even done just round circles in here. So like I would color a circle solid, and you want to make sure that you color everything solid, because if you don't color solid, you're going to see white underneath of it. And if you want that, that's fine, but it'll scratch better if you have a color. So I've done them before where I've just made circles and bubbles. That here in just a second. So you can use as many colors as you want. Maybe you only want 2 colors. Maybe you just want, I don't know, yellow and blue. If you have a certain sports team that you really like, or if you're on a cheerleading squad and you have certain school colors, you could do that. Maybe you just have a favorite color. You could even have it just one color underneath if you chose to. You just have to color it solid. Once I filled that entire plate, I would go all the way up to the edge here with all my colors. Then I would also color this rim if I chose to. On mine, I do that. I color all the way around my rim, and I kind of do it to make it rainbow. I kind of will do a little color from one to the next. And the best part is if you make a mistake, like I did, nobody's going to know because you're actually going to paint over it with black paint. So that's really fun too. It's always nice to know that you can make mistakes and it'll be okay. Okay, so here's my start. I'm kind of giving you an idea of how you can do it. Again, you can do swirls, you can do lines back and forth. You can do it any way you want under here. Doesn't make a difference. Once you get to this point and all of this has been covered with crayons, we're going to put our crayons aside, or our oil pastels, whatever you chose to do, and then we're actually going to take our black paint, our craft paint, and we're going to cover the whole plate, we're going to coat the entire plate with black paint. And you want to make sure that your paint actually coats your color. This craft paint is actually really good. Tempera paint, which is a little bit thinner, or finger paint, doesn't seem to cover well. So you want to make sure that you get an acrylic or a craft paint because that tends to cover. And actually only one coat should do it. If you see any areas that need to be covered again, or if they look really light, you can always go over them a second coat. But let's assume that we've done that. Once you get your coat on there, we can blow dry it. It doesn't take very long when you only have 1 or 2 coats on there. We'll get that going. And you can already see how this is drying. It's going from that shiny paint to that real matte finish. That's how you know that your paint is dry, okay? So I'm gonna move on to the next step, which is my black plate that has already been completely colored, completely painted, and now it's to the best part. This is where you get to reveal your rainbow mandala. And again, these can be done any way. If you want to actually follow with the mandala, what you'll do is you'll start from a radiating point right in the middle. You'll start with a shape, and then you'll work your way around. However, if you do not want to necessarily do a mandala, you could do any other kind of scratch art into it. Some people like to do animals. Some people like to do different objects or shapes. But I'm going to follow the mandala, and I'm going to do what I had done on my other one just to kind of show you. So I'm going to grab one of my wooden sticks here that I have, and I'm going to start from the beginning, right here in the middle. I'm just kind of making a point, and you can see as I'm scratching away, it's almost like magic. I'm trying to make a star here. And all the colors that you're seeing are not coming from this. They're coming from underneath of the black paint. They're coming from the colors that were colored under there before. So when you're seeing purple and yellow and red, it's almost like magic because it looks like this little thing is making that color, but it's not. It's actually the colors that are being revealed from under that black paint. So as I start from the middle, then I'm just gonna do a simple kind of shape around it. Now you can see my rainbow colors are coming through. I'm getting some purple and green. I'm getting all colors of the rainbow, green and blue. I'm just gonna make some circles. And if I follow through, I would complete my plate one ring after another until I got all the way to the edge of my plate. If I colored all the way to the edge, I should have colors being exposed all the way through the end. And then actually here on the edge too, you can see how, because I colored my edge, I can even scratch that away. And it will start exposing the colors that I have there. Along the edge as well. So you can fill your entire plate. You can draw as small as you want or as big as you want. You can include any shapes that you choose. If you choose not to do the mandala, you can just, you can even just do random shapes in there. It doesn't necessarily have to have symmetry. Here's a little butterfly. So when you're all done and finished, you can end up with something like this, or you can have your own shapes that you choose. So this is week 2. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I hope you come back for week 3. We're gonna have a really cool lesson coming up. But enjoy your week, and thank you for joining me today.